Okay, let me make it very clear. I don't think it is appropriate to use taxpayer money for political purposes. It's why I don't believe in public funding of campaigns. I don't believe in public funding of either promoting or opposing unions. Using taxpayer money for controversial purposes within the political sphere is exactly why, for instance, despite the fact that I worked for 12 years for public television, during that entire period that I worked for public television, Channel 11 here in Chicago, it seemed to me the height of folly that taxpayers should pay for certain kinds of TV production. One of the things I despise about the Obama administration, I use the term, I don't despise everything about it, but I do despise the appointment yesterday, you want to talk about something that wasn't covered in the media, of a governmental coordinator for the arts and culture in the White House. Government should not have a role funding culture, funding arts on the federal level. I do not believe in commissars of culture, and I do not believe in using taxpayer money on either side of the controversial issues that Thom Hartmann is mentioning.
So I think at a certain level we're in agreement here about TARP, but apparently you hate Beethoven and Bach. Because both were funded by the government to do their music.
No, they were funded by crowned heads, and Bach was actually funded primarily. Bach was funded primarily by the church, the Thomaskirche in Leipzig, for which he composed all of his cantatas.
Maybe I should have said Beethoven and Mozart.
Actually, Beethoven was a great middle-class composer who cared very much about making a profit. That's why one of his last works was a bagatelle called Rage Over a Lost Penny. And Beethoven pioneered the idea that we could actually stage concerts and have ordinary people pay money to hear music that they love, rather than relying. And that's why he moved to Vienna, because that's where he could do it.
All right. Your questions are coming up next, but before we get to that, we want to give each of these guys an opportunity to ask a question to each other. We will begin with Michael Medved.
Yeah, and this is not a gotcha question. This is a serious question to satisfy my curiosity and maybe the curiosity of some people here. There were certainly things, I was a supporter of the Bush administration. There were things the Bush administration did that I found deeply embarrassing, and I will acknowledge it. What have you found so far in the Obama administration, either deeply embarrassing or utterly wrong-headed?
My biggest concern about the Obama administration is my biggest concern, his question was, what is my concern about the Obama administration? Up until this point, their close or near embrace of corporatism. I'm very concerned about Summers, I'm very concerned about Geithner, I'm concerned about some of the Clinton-era holdovers. I'm frankly very concerned about that. I was hoping he would move more in the direction of Franklin Roosevelt than in the direction of Bill Clinton. I mean that sincerely.
Tom, how about a question for Michael?
Michael, I'm curious if, and maybe you don't know the answer, but I figured you might have tentacles in there and would know the answer, because this has really baffled me. In 2000. Well, first of all, the stars on the flag, the five-pointed star on the flag, goes back to Michelangelo's man, top star.
Da Vinci's Man.
Da Vinci's Man. Thank you very much. Yes, bless you. And what is this? A game of gotcha?
No, just want to keep the record straight. Go ahead.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And I'm going to have to do some studying on Beethoven.
There's no code in that Da Vinci reference.
Yeah. Okay. So anyhow, And you know, historically, when the five-pointed star was flipped upside down, it was to indicate the horns of the devil and the goatee and the ears, right? And you know, this is pretty long, well-known lore. So I'm curious, why in the year 2000 did the GOP flip the five-pointed star upside down on their logo?
What? I'm sorry. Where did they allegedly flip the five-pointed star upside down?
It was around the year 2000.
But where? On what?
On the Republican logo, the elephant.
On the Republican
stars
logo.
are upside down. Look at GOP.org.
Tom, okay.
Why did they flip our stars upside down?
Let me explain this to you. Every month, at a time of full moon, and we're coming up to a full moon, we have on the Michael Medved Show Conspiracy Day.
That's why I'm asking.
I promise by the next Conspiracy Day, I will research anything about the star turned upside down. And if you are suggesting, do you honestly believe that there was some kind of satanic purpose in the Republican hierarchy to turn the star upside down in the logo?
You mean, do I think Dick Cheney might be evil? Is that a serious question?
Wait.
Actually,
okay,
I am not suggesting that it's satanic. I'm suggesting that I don't know. And I've asked a whole bunch of people, and none of them have given me straight answers. And I've had a number of Republicans say to me, we're really worried about this because it's the satanic star now.
If
this is a great question, by the way, to ask the Sarah Palin types, because they get very freaked out about it.
Okay, if this is your biggest rap on the Republican Party, then the party's in a lot better shape than I think it is.
It was the question that I really and genuinely didn't know the answer to.
I do not know the answer either. You've stumped me.
All right. Well, here's a question.
Hang on a minute. Hold on. We got now, folks. Now it's really your turn. We've got the questions from the audience. Okay?
Here's one I think both of you guys are going to have a decent answer to. We'll start with Thom Hartmann. Your thoughts on the legalization of medical marijuana?
I'll take it beyond that. I think that if something can grow in your yard, that the government has no business telling you that you can or can't grow it. On the other hand, I think that if something is being made synthetically and is being marketed, that marketplace is an appropriate part of the commons, and the government should play a role in regulating it. So, you know, medical marijuana, I would go beyond that. I would simply decriminalize all marijuana.
The problem with decriminalization, and again, I think Tom and I would agree. I do not think that anyone, and I repeat, I do not think that anyone in the United States of America should go to jail or should face some kind of felony conviction for use of marijuana. I think it's an absurd waste of police resources. However, that leaves the question about under what circumstances should it still then become completely legal to sell marijuana on street corners? Should it be legal to sell it in supermarkets? How are you going to regulate? Because obviously we have recognized for a long time that it is appropriate to regulate various kinds of mood-altering substances, including alcohol. Okay? But do I believe that medical marijuana should be completely unacceptable when prescribed by physicians? I actually have moved on that issue. I do think that people where there are certain medical conditions where use of marijuana-based derivatives, treatments, really are strongly urged by most medical authorities. And I think that we have to have more flexibility in the law to allow for that.